right, welcome to the first mock draft pick and stick with Nick and Will. We're going to run through some 2020 picks and just kind of go through the first round of the draft and give kind of our analysis and why we think what players will go, when and where they do, and what we like. So, Will, what do you think the number one overall pick is? I guess you're gonna do the odds.
With everybody else, I'm pretty sure that Joe Burrow's going to Cincinnati. If all 3 first-rounders from Miami or something like that, were on the table, then maybe they do something else. But I'm not worried there'll be any drama there. I actually think it's kind of fun to look at all the prop bets for things surrounding specifically Joe Burrow. Like, I'm probably going to place a bet on who he hugs. I've actually seen it on 2 sites, but on my site, his mom is the favorite, but his dad's on there, his girlfriend's on there, a friend or a sibling. He does have 2 brothers, but they're quite a bit older, so I'm going to assume that he's not going to hug them first. So I think it's going to be either mom or dad. His dad was a coach, and I don't know, doesn't that lead to some kind of there's probably some rift there a little bit, where it's not as emotional between the 2.
Yeah, you would assume it'll be a man-sized handshake. Yeah, I'd also take mom on the hug there.
Although mom loves you anyway, whereas dad wants you to succeed, and this is his first giant success. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Right. Should have watched that Heisman presentation. So I don't think we'd have... Well, just for who he hugged. Got to study that game footage, So I don't think we'd have any argument with Chase Young going 2 overall. I mean, seems like about as no-brainer as it comes. You got Montez Sweat last year. You pair him on the edge on the other side, and now you got some nice pinchers.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of players along their front 7. Josh Allen is it Jonathan Allen or Josh Allen? I think it's Josh Allen for them. They have, Ryan Kerrigan gets sacks. They have a lot of people to rush the passer, so I don't think this is a need pick. I just think Chase Young is kind of widely regarded as probably the best prospect in the draft. If you've got to pick this high, you almost can't pick for need. You have to pick best player on board, especially because I don't think there is that much of best player on the board after Chase Young is gone.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I'm not sure. What do you think Detroit does at 3? I feel like this is probably where the real draft begins.
Right, and this is where I feel like it's reasonable to diverge.
Yeah, well, and we're going with the tried and true stick and pick, no trades in this, that kind of thing, because I do think there's a chance, but I just don't.
Yeah, I think this is the first really good chance. If somebody really wants one of those people, why wouldn't Detroit let him go? Let him have it. There are other corners. I feel like Okudah's the highest likelihood. I feel like that's kind of it's not a consensus pick amongst NFL personnel probably, but it seems like it is amongst everybody watching the draft from the outside.
I just think Isaiah... Oh, sorry. I think Isaiah Simmons just is too much of a game breaker. I think that with a defensive-minded coach like that, he's not just going to want to settle for some super safe corner. I think that Simmons represents the best game breaker on defense here.
It's funny because I think they would be more likely to pass on Okudah if there were even more super corners. There is no Jalen Ramsey. There's just pretty close. But there's no physical freak corner. The way that the receivers have CeeDee Lamb versus Jerry Jeudy, one's the freak and one's the technician. That isn't really the case. Okudah is, I think, even if you don't think he should be taken at 3, I haven't heard very many people say that they like a different corner more than him overall. Isaiah Simmons, is a little bit more of a, a guy without a position necessarily, but I'm not sure that Matt Patricia should be afraid of that. They traded away Darius Slay, so I feel like they might be worried about corner. And yeah, so that's that. I think they pick Okuda. I'm assuming you think they pick Simmons.
I do, but I mean we're doing a mock, so who are they getting?
I say Okuda. I think it's just safer.
All right.
Patricia is also on the. He's got to feel the heat a little bit, and I'm not saying that Simmons won't help him keep his job, maybe even more than Okuda, but you don't want to have to defend yourself.
Yeah, I certainly don't disagree. Like, I don't have an issue there. So, yeah. No, we'll give him Okuda. So, Giants would be up next. What are your thoughts here?
I think we're kind of lucky in the two of us talking about it. I think we both think that they will try to make sure to get one of these best offensive tackles to protect their investments from not just last year, but before.
Yeah. So. Well, and with the wide receivers being as deep as they are this year, I think that, I mean, we talked a little bit about this the other day, but I think they'll think they can get a good wide receiver in the second round with their high pick. And then all of a sudden, now you have your 4 corners to build your offense around with your quarterback. They seem happy with Daniel Jones. Obviously, everybody loves Saquon Barkley. You get those 2 things out of this first 2 rounds of the draft, and then you're kind of free to do whatever you want with the rest of your picks.
Yeah, I think the only way that it goes a different way is if, as much as I'm sure they want to protect their investments, Gettleman has also kind of proven himself to be a little bit of a freak hunter, or so if Isaiah Simmons is enough of a special thing in his mind, that's the only other way I could see them going. But I think it'll be, to specifically call the person's name, I think Jedrick Wills.
Yeah, I think it'll be Wills as well. So we'll do that one. That one seems pretty auto. And then this is the story of the draft: is what will the Dolphins do with this 5? I think it's going to be Herbert. What are you feeling at this point? Draft starts tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, I think it'll be Tua. We've talked a little bit about it previously, and I agree with you that people's jobs are on the line, and do you want to trust a health risk? I guess I feel like it's more dangerous to draft Blake Bortles than it is to draft a hurt guy who you can just say, well, he was hurt, he's the best. But, and we couldn't, and you have the added defense of we couldn't lay hands on him. We couldn't make sure, so we had to take the guy who everybody knows, at least a second ago was the best quarterback in the draft. But I understand your argument. I actually think it's a good one. That's just the only thing I could think of to kind of defend against that.
No, yeah, I don't know. I would push hard for Herbert here just because I think jobs are on the line. And at the end of the day, the people making this call are effectively stating with their own livelihoods that they think this is good. And I think they would rather settle for the safer thing. I know that you shouldn't put a ton into it, but the fact that it was either the worst or the second worst Wonderlic when you're talking quarterback kind of freaks me out. So I'm going to forcibly push and make it Herbert on the thing.
That's fine. I mean, it's very draftish, right? Like, that's the NFL draft. There's always some quarterback that becomes the flavor, fires up the first team. If you are that second team to take a quarterback, you're not the number 1 overall. I feel like desperation really in like a horrible way a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean to shit on Justin Herbert. Like, he's not some pure example of desperation. Just, I think they're, not doing the obvious thing because they thought too much about it. But, so Herbert is the pick, right?
Yeah. So that's who's off the board. So now we're at 6 for the Chargers.
So,
We still have Simmons on the board. We still have Derek Brown, which is a popular one, and obviously Tua sliding now.
right. And they also need depth. So I don't think that's off their. They need offensive line overall. So I don't think that's out of their possible range of things to do. I mean, they lost 2 linebackers and they sucked at linebacker last year. So Simmons makes some sense if they're going to use him at linebacker, or
Yeah.
they've been willing to run some unorthodox defenses. So I think that would be a really smart pick for them. I think if they get to this spot, I don't know. I'm almost good with putting him down. Like I've kind of come around on that.
For Simmons, you're saying?
I think that Anthony Lynn is really comfy with Tyrod Taylor. Like I really think he's comfy with that. And they could go for
we can
a quarterback somewhere, and if Tua slides way far, then maybe.
Yeah, well, I think that they can either jump back in at the end of the first or sit contently at their second round pick and go with like a Fromm or whatever. Hurt is actually the guy I think that they'll go with, but like I don't know. So we're saying Isaiah Simmons here?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, this is the first one where, when it doesn't go this way, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, I really thought I don't. But it makes sense.
No, yeah, I don't disagree at all. So then that brings us around to the Carolina Panthers. Now, I think Derek Brown is pretty much a lock here. I think their new head coach is going to be after him not only as on the field talent, but a locker room leader. I think he's going to try to establish his own defensive identity using not only his on the field skills, but his off the field skills.
I think so too, and I also think that we did it for ourselves, which might have just made this whole thing easier on us for the rest of the way. But because we got Isaiah out of the way, we don't have to do that with every team where they're like, but is this special enough?
Right.
Because they did pick up some edge help. They don't need a linebacker, but they definitely need interior defensive line. And so Derek Brown seems obvious to me now that Simmons might not.
Yeah. Agreed. So now we roll into the Arizona Cardinals, pick an 8th overall. I think we can both agree it's probably going to be a tackle, right? It's just a matter of who.
It's just a matter of who, which is interesting to me. I feel like the most commonly mocked person that I see here is Wirfs. But that wouldn't be the person I would pick if I ran it for the Cardinals.
Oh, interesting. Who's that?
I would pick either Becton or Anthony Thomas, probably first, just because if I've been struck by comments on the different players, it's that Wirfs might be the most freakish athlete, but he's also the least polished out of all 4 at the top.
Right.
Even if he ends up being the best. And I guess, to me, polish does sort of matter, especially when you are in between a bunch of players. So I actually think they might. If Becton hadn't had his failed test or whatever. So I feel like if we're trying to predict what'll happen, I think they probably will pick Wirfs because that just keeps getting mocked that way. So it's hard for me to buck the trend. If I were them, I'd probably pick Becton. Thomas makes second most sense.
Yeah, and I'm between Becton and Wirfs just because I think they want more agility than Thomas is going to bring to the table, even though I think Thomas is maybe the second best one after Wills. But I think they want, like, when Kyler Murray goes and does his thing and
they
getting sweeps and stuff for Drake, I think they want that edge tackle to be something a little different for Cliff Kingsbury's thing.
They run so many plays, they probably, you don't want a 360-pound guy to get tired. Like you
right.
Have an athletic guy.
Yeah. So
that makes sense. I'm very comfortable with Wirfs.
All right, let's do Wirfs here then. All right. So, number 9, Jacksonville. I know everybody and their brother wants to give these guys a tackle here, but I keep banging on this drum. They got Jawan Taylor last year in the second round, which a lot of people had as a top 10 prospect. And not that last year, but the 2 previous seasons before that, they've also taken tackles. I don't think they're just going to keep throwing stuff against the wall. Like, I think they're going to see what they have.
That seems like a reasonable. I mean, yes, that seems like a reasonable assessment.
Well, and after their 1 year experiment with Foles, like, Merlin's on the hot seat. This is for them, this is probably the pick that has to get nailed the hardest for their entire draft. I mean, they're going to lose their jobs.
Right. And Judy is the way to nail it.
Well, I mean, Judy seems like the safest offensive thing you could add. I would hear Henderson as well, like a cornerback. Like, there's a lot of other things they could do. I could see Kinlaw. I just don't think it's going to be an offensive tackle, even though that's what everybody wants to do for him.
Yeah, I don't think it will be either. I think that if you feel like you're on the hot seat and you're going to lose your job, that something splashy is a little bit better. So
so just real quick, using my favorite football magazine company, Lindy's Draft Guide, they've got them pegged for top 3 needs as defensive tackle, linebacker, offensive line. So I would think maybe one of those, or I mean, because they traded for that Denver cornerback. So,
well, if they trade back, I won't be surprised. I feel like they are a little bit hamstrung in that no linebacker is good enough for you.
Yeah, agreed. So then you're talking about like Kinlaw, maybe.
I mean, it wouldn't shock. So they could do that.
They could pretty much do anything here except for take Tua or a tackle, and I wouldn't be surprised.
You'd be shocked if they took Tua.
I would. I think they're content to find out with one full season of Gardner Minshew whether or not they need to go shopping in Trevor Lawrence's draft.
I know they have picked tackles, so I still think it's a real possibility that they could do that. But I feel like starting the wide receivers or C.J. Henderson are the 2 that are.
Well,
I think Kinlaw might just be a little too low in people's rankings, but he wouldn't be in mine. I actually think that would make a lot of sense. So maybe that's what they'll do. I think they pick a wide receiver or CJ.
Yeah, well, I think it's a wide receiver. So who do we think here? I think it's.
I think if they pick a wide receiver. They don't have time to mess around with somebody.
So you think it'd be Judy then?
I do.
All right. Well, let's give him Judy then. So
this one's a tough one.
Cleveland. You think Cleveland's tough?
No, Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, I think Jacksonville, and probably San Diego, I think, are the 2 toughest in the top 10 to really make the call for.
So I think that the Browns probably do take Becton because they don't run a really high, like they don't run a super fast-paced offense, or they haven't. I guess who knows what they'll do this year. But Stefanski isn't like known for running some super fast-paced thing. I guess it is zone, so maybe they would want a more mobile tackle than Becton. But
I thought Becton is the most mobile. He's the one who ran the big. Yeah, but he ran the fastest.
Oh, did he run the fastest?
Yeah.
I guess they always. I guess maybe people just don't believe he'll hold up if he has to run up. But I feel like he'll be the pick.
Okay, well, let's go Becton there. I think it'll be Thomas, but I'm fine with either. I won't be surprised if it's either.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
But we'll just give him Becton because Stefanski. So that gives us the Jets. I think I think it's either Thomas or CeeDee Lamb here.
I think it's Thomas. I think it's if a tackle gets to them, I think.
Okay. Well, then we'll just do that. We'll just give him Thomas. It's a deep wide receiver class. There's a good chance they can get one again later. So we'll give them Thomas. So
all 4 somehow go before them, then a wide receiver is very
sure.
possible.
Yeah.
But if any of the 4 are there.
Yeah. I think that'll really just kind of come down to whether or not we're wrong about Derek Brown in Carolina. But
or trade. I mean trades.
Well, yeah.
The Raiders.
Yep. What do you got here?
I've mocked CeeDee Lamb to them almost every.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be Lamb. They'll want their over the top toy to keep lanes a little more open for Jacobs / vice versa. Get him over the top with
and Ruggs
running.
Might be more over the top, but I think CeeDee Lamb is more classic number 1.
Right. Well, he's just more ready to go. He's ready to be a team's number 1, and they are in need of a number 1. Ruggs will maybe one day get there, but he's not walking in day 1 ready to be a team's number 1.
I don't know. I've been impressed with people talking about Henry Ruggs. Like, if I were the Raiders, I'd probably pick him over. But I don't think they will.
Yeah. No, Ruggs has kind of flown up my board over the last 2 weeks. So who's that next? Yep, we're giving them Lamb. So that brings us to the 49ers pick. I think they keep. I think they definitely keep this pick.
I think this is where Kinlaw goes. That's what I've
Yeah, me too. Pretty much every single time Kinlaw here.
They might trade out and they might do something else, but I mean that's what they just got rid of Buckner, and so it seems to make sense. They did. I mean I don't know. It's not like Shanahan isn't, an offensive coach, but he's been able to do so well with so little on that side of the ball. Not little. I mean, obviously they're great players, but without investing a ton of capital. So.
Yeah. So Tampa Bay 14. Do you see anything here other than a tackle? Because I don't. Like you just invested in Tom Brady for 2 years.
I feel like they're the ones who get unlucky and have to reach a bit. But
right.
Of course, you just got Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I think it's Austin Jackson.
Well, now you just added Gronk as well. Like it's going to be all about keeping him upright. So yeah, Austin Jackson here, right?
Okay. Well, yeah, but I do feel like Ezra Cleveland is a popular riser.
Ishy poo. I don't like Cleveland at all. No. So the Broncos, what do you like here?
I usually mock Ruggs there, but
Ruggs does seem like the safer pick. I've often given them Henderson because they are in kind of a cornerback situation. They just lost Chris Harris Jr. So I don't know.
It makes a lot of sense to me, but I think that they'll try to help. Well, I don't know. I mean, I could go either way. Like if you want to do CJ there, that makes perfect sense.
See, yeah, I would do that just because it's going to be the refrain that we're going to hear all day tomorrow. Well, it's a deep wide receiver class every time that one of them doesn't go quite where they're supposed to. So yeah, let's give them Henderson.
Let's do CJ.
Yeah. All right. So then the Falcons here. Now it's kind of my own take, but I think based on what happened last year with their injury situation with the offensive line, I think they actually continue bolstering it. I think it'll be Ruiz here because he can either play center if that center continues to have injury issues, or can slide in and play guard, which is where I think he'll actually end up. But what do you like?
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think there's an obvious thing for them to do. I feel like once Henderson's off the board, there isn't a cornerback that's high enough that'll tempt them. The only part that I was like,
Yeah, I'm sure Atlanta fans will be super disappointed if that does go down that way right before their pick, because I'm sure that as a fan base, that's what they want.
yeah, let's mark that because I don't think there's another player in the realm outside of if they want to, now that a corner's down, they know Dallas is going to pick one right behind them. So maybe they went Trayvon Diggs, they went Christian Fulton.
Yeah, I just think they get such a better value, and that offensive line has been the thing that's letting their Super Bowl window close a little faster than I think they were ready for.
Sure. Well, that's Mark. I had not actually. I guess the reason it took me off guard was that I had to consider they might do that. He's a good player.
All right, so
Down to that.
Dallas at 17. This one's actually giving me quite a bit of trouble. And now, with the way this draft is falling, Ruggs is on the board, which I've never had this late. So
I don't think they picked Henry Ruggs. I think they picked Trayvon Diggs.
Okay.
I just think he's the most athletic. He's the only athletic corner.
Their cornerback situation is brutal moving past this year. Like, they only have one guy under contract after this year, so it would make the most sense. So we'll go Trayvon Diggs for them. Which gives us Miami's second pick.
And so I forgot what we gave him.
We gave him Herbert. So I think they're going to go tackle here, personally, but like, even if it means a little bit of a reach, they spent all their money on defense in the offseason. So I don't think they're quite as worried about that side of the ball. I think they want to get an established offensive line out of this with a quarterback.
Who is the tackle? Or who is the player? Do you think?
Yeah. Looking through the thing here for the name that jumps out at me.
I do feel like Ezra has started to rise up. So
yeah, I mean, I could see Cleveland there.
Wrong.
No,
they could try to replace.
Yeah.
Once you get into these second ones, I feel like there's 2 tackles left that are in the second tier.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would probably say Josh Jones out of Houston, but
Think so?
I do, but
That's who you'd prefer, or that's who you think of?
that's who I think they would pick.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm not against Ezra. I mean, if he's flying up.
Well, I think he gets picked before Josh.
All right. Well, then let's just give him Cleveland.
Okay. Or wait, who?
Ezra Cleveland. So, and this is pretty much what I've done every single time. I think this is where Tua's slide ends. I think this is too ripe for John Gruden. But what do you think they do with their second pick?
I've never had Henry Ruggs get picked. I don't think they pick both. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that.
No, they won't.
I just can't see Tua getting all the way to the 20s.
Neither can I, but I would have had him picked up. So, yeah, Tua to them. I think that they feel fairly satisfied with Mariota and whatever, but yeah, if he got all the way here.
All right, so we gave Jacksonville Judy with their first pick at 9.
Say Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yeah, I like that here too. Yeah, I feel like that's one of those. If he's there and it's 20 and they're on the clock, I think he's pretty much a locked-in pick.
So who do we have on the clock now?
Well, now we have Philly.
I mean, now it's Ruggs, right?
Yeah, I mean, almost every single mock draft I've done, I've given them a defensive player here, but I've also never let Ruggs go this far, so I think it would have to be Ruggs. So let's just do that. I don't think he gets past that. Got to get Carson Wentz that weapon.
Yeah, well, and I mean, Justin Jefferson, or that's who I've usually gone with because he's the next best. I guess I feel like they're definitely going to try to replace Alshon Jeffery and try to get him. And if they can have two, if they can have a Deshaun Jackson on one side and the Ruggs on the other, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Well, that brings it to our Minnesota Vikings' first of 2 picks at 22. We've talked pretty extensively. We don't think wide receiver here. I mean, maybe if Ruggs had gotten there, but...
Yeah, maybe. Or, well, yes, if Ruggs had gotten there.
But I think this is a defensive back, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's Christian Fulton, I think, is the next one, but...
See, I think it's more like... Yeah, I like Gladney and Terrell, honestly, both better than Fulton.
So,
I think Fulton's...
Terrell's a possibility. I don't think they'll pick Gladney because he's small. I feel like that's been something that we haven't done generally, especially if they're...
Well, Mike Hughes is 5'9", and he's effectively our number 1 right now.
That's fair. Sure. I mean, it's...
But yeah, I don't think they do. That's just it. I don't think they'd go with 2 small corners. So I think that Fulton's a little more of a project guy. I think they need somebody who starts right away. So is that Terrell?
I'm fine with them picking Terrell. Out of the 2 players, I like AJ Terrell more. I know that he's famous for getting burnt, and so I don't think that Zimmer will care about that. But
no, and I think they kind of coached that out of Trey Waynes. So I think they'll think they can do that again.
All right. Well, I'm fine with AJ Terrell being.
Yeah. Oh man, I was all set to make this big speech about Patrick Queen at Philly, but just can't pass on Ruggs there. Can't do it.
Would you have? So you would have made. You thought that you think they would do that over.
Not over Ruggs.
If he had been there?
Yeah, because here's my argument is that Queen is the best run-stopping linebacker, and they play in a division with Miles Sanders, Ezekiel Elliott, and...
You have Miles Sanders. Sure.
Oh, yeah. Duh. But you know what I mean. Like Zeke and all the running that happens in that division. But it doesn't matter. They got Henry Ruggs. Lucky bastards.
So, are we on to...
Patriots.
So they need a linebacker. That would make sense to me. AJ Epinesa makes some sense to me.
I think Epinesa doesn't even get picked in the first round, personally. I just don't.
Lobby for him later, but it doesn't have to be.
Sure. I think Kenneth Murray makes a lot of sense to replace Kyle Van Noy.
Sure. That's
probably what I think Bill Belichick would do, but I'm sure he'll take like a defensive tackle I've never heard of.
Murray and Queen are ones that I've done multiple
times. Oh, actually Queen would make a lot of sense.
I don't know. I was trying to determine between the 2 of them which one sounds more like a Patriot, and I felt like Queen sounded more like a Patriot, but that's not really true.
Yeah, I just feel like Murray. I feel like Murray can slide into that scheme and fill that Van Noy slot right away.
Okay. Well, I'm very fine with just putting him
all right
as the pick. It's funny though because that's one of the reasons that I like Yetur Gross-Matos for the Jaguars because that sounds like a Jaguar player.
Oh, for sure it does. 100. So that's the Saints at 24. I think if Patrick Queen is still on the board, this is definitely where he goes, but. Are you in the camp that thinks that Sean Payton's like, whatever, we're getting the best out of Breeze and grabbing a wide receiver here, or what do you think?
Oh, sure. I actually think that Jordan Love could go here.
Yeah, I just don't think that they take a quarterback personally, but
Not gonna do it.
I don't think they take a first round quarterback. They have Taysom Hill as the heir apparent. I don't think they're.
I don't think Taysom Hill is, but sure. So let's get that right out, and then I feel like linebacker, defensive tackle. Do you think they take? I don't think they take a wide receiver. I feel like the Emmanuel Sanders signing gives them enough.
Yeah, I agree. If they hadn't done that, then maybe, but they did that already.
So how about no Chase on?
Yeah, I like Chase on here.
Just to get, I feel like he's one of the few. Like now we're getting into again the people who you almost have to pick because they're too good not to pick, even if they don't make perfect sense. But I
No,
think he makes.
yeah, I agree. So that puts the Vikings on the board again.
So you fucking took away. You're lobbying for all the tackles and Josh Jones. Josh Jones is a pick.
You really think so, huh? You don't think it's Winfield?
I don't. I don't think they leave the first. If any of the people whose names you know are available for the offensive line, maybe not. Maybe they're so enamored with their scheme that they want things that only fit their scheme, which they might. I would love it. I mean, I'm not sure whether. I'm not sure what is worth what for safety. Because I guess I see stuff where people like their dream thing is that. I mean, we've still got for safeties. We've still got Xavier McKinney, Antoine Winfield, Grant Delpit, Jeremy Chin.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names out there, and we could take our one, which we might, which would make perfect sense to me. I mean, we might take Christian Fulton. We might take Jeff Gladden.
I think they're going to use both picks on defensive back personally, but
okay, well, we can run it like that. That's fine. I'll be sad if Josh Jones is there.
well, I mean, we still have Fulton on the board, and I don't hate that for the second pick. Like now that he's made it here, like if you like him,
I don't mind them taking a safety because I think they won't.
I think they do too, and I think they plan to move Anthony Harris. I think that's always been the plan. Now this is something we can use to jump up or whatever.
Well, because he's coming out of Minnesota, I like it. That's just fun. I hope they do that.
All right, let's do it. We're giving him Winfield, which gives us the Miami Dolphins' third and final first round pick.
So they've got they don't have what did we have them? Quarterback,
and
we made him take a tackle.
Yeah, Ezra Cleveland.
So then I feel like I've actually mocked Xavier McKinney. But a safety makes sense for them too, because they lost Fitzpatrick. If they don't want to have a hybrid safety like McKinney and Fitzpatrick were, then they could Grant Delpit, one of the ones that isn't a hybrid but is really good.
Yeah, I could see it being. I could see it being Delpit more.
I did it before and I reset. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I could see it being Delpit just because they'll want like a young leader. But I don't know. They signed a lot of veterans, so maybe not. Maybe Xavier Kinney does make the most sense.
They signed Byron Jones. All the rest of the veterans are all in the front seven.
Right. So what are we saying? McKinney or Delpit?
I guess I'll guess that they take. I think McKinney is more regarded as more
special.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that is. Do you want a quick run back?
No, I think I'll be. I remember who's been taken, and it doesn't matter where they are on the thing for me. I just have to.
Right.
Do you think, I mean, since I'm doing this right now, do you think we take any of those tackles that came up before if they were there, or Cesar Ruiz if he was there?
I think they take Cesar Ruiz if he was there for sure.
Did we end up assigning Fulton to anybody?
No, he is still on the board.
And did we assign McKinney, right?
Yes, just now, last pick to Miami.
That catches me up. So I'm all set. So Seattle.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So Epic. This is a guy that I've mocked here too, but you don't think he's worthy of that?
I don't, but that seems like a Seattle player.
Well, and
so I wouldn't be surprised.
Right, and they're going to lose. Well, it doesn't seem like they're going to get Conley back, and they would probably want leverage. And it just seems like he's barely high above the next defensive end, who I don't know would be like.
Yeah. I mean, there's definite separation between him and whoever would come up next.
No, do you want to? Should we just do that then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
I think that makes plenty of sense.
I think it made sense to me, but I think I have a little bit higher opinion of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that doesn't take much. I have a very low opinion, but it seems like the kind of Seattle player that they would take.
Sure.
So this gets us to
Ravens. Patrick Queen's still out there.
Yeah, man, holy cow. That seems like the most Ravens pick ever.
Right.
Him or Delpit.
Yeah, I mean, I think their linebacking is in rougher shape.
Yeah.
And they're less, like, they get one of the two kind of clear top.
Yeah. So should we just say that's true then? I feel like they wouldn't pass if he was here. So
we'll see. I had the Patriots, like in a couple of mocks, I've had the Patriots do different things, so they didn't take Murray. So then I did Queen Murray, and I'm like, well, those sound like players.
Yeah. Yeah, I could easily see those names flip-flop when I watch the draft.
I'm not sure what the Titans need. I guess I had mocked them with a linebacker, but they're usually been a little bit better one off.
See, this is where I think this is where Jordan Love goes, because he doesn't have to start right away, and they can basically get out of Tannehill's deal after 2 years. Like, I think this is one of those moves that nobody sees coming. Because all the mocks give him a wide receiver, and I just don't think that's what they're going to do.
You think that's what everybody's mocking to them?
Most of the ones I've seen, yeah.
I always sort of stop paying attention at the very end of a mock draft. But, no, I guess I don't think that they'll get a receiver either. And I feel like they don't need anything on the offensive line.
I mean, everybody always needs offensive line, but I think they're pretty happy with what they have.
Well, we can mock them there. I mean,
Well, and even if it isn't necessarily them, I think this is probably where he goes, no matter what.
Well, let's put it there, because I don't have a thing that I'm like, no, not if this is. Sounds good. So
that's Green Bay. I think this is probably Justin Jefferson, but
well, especially since he's still there. I usually put him in on the Eagles, so yeah. I think for sure it's Justin.
Yeah, I hope this isn't what happens in the real draft, but I hope they go defense, but I just don't think they will.
You don't think they will what?
Go defense. I think they'll take him.
No. Well, not with. I think they would have gone receiver if Justin Jefferson wasn't.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't know. If I was running their draft, I would tell them they needed defense more, but
they might. I guess what I'd always mocked was a true burner to go across from.
Yeah. Which makes the most sense.
And Jefferson isn't really that. But he did run a really good 40. Maybe they'll just think of it that way.
Uh,
San Francisco, or well,
yeah.
assuming that we're good on Jefferson.
Yep. So this is one that I actually, I think they'll trade out of this pick for letting somebody get at their quarterback for draft capital. They definitely want to move back. But just in the stick and pick thing, I think this is where Brandon Ayuk goes, because I think if you have him and Deebo Samuels crossing underneath is a Kyle Shanahan wet dream. Like,
yeah, I've always picked one wide receiver or another, so I'm fine with that one.
Yeah, I think if he's on the board and they stick with this pick, I think that's almost a lock. He seems like, because I've been following Shanahan since he was in Washington, like, I really, really strongly believe that that is his kind of guy.
Well, and I feel like he is kind of he's a riser.
Oh, for sure he is.
So even though there might be still, I mean, there's just still tons of big names at wide receiver.
Yeah. And
I'm
then,
interested to see what we end up with in the second round.
well, that just leaves San Francisco at 32.
What is Kansas City?
Kansas City. I mean, that's what I mean. That's what I meant to say.
I'm fine with signing on to that. I think they'd be more likely to pick a corner because there are still good ones out there, but.
Yeah, I think they'll go defensive back in some form or another. I mean, if I was their fan, I would want them to take Del Pitt and just see if they couldn't make him and Matthews work together, but they play the same position, so it's hard to say that's what they'd do.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's enough. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a defensive player almost assuredly.
Right. I think out of the ones that are left, I think they would pick Fulton or Jalen Johnson. But
yeah, no, Fulton makes sense here.
Okay.
So we'll do that.
All right. We'll end up seeing how we do. Stick and pick probably won't end up making a lot of sense once other things get traded up for us.
Oh yeah, no. But I don't know. I feel like these are closer to what teams' intents at those picks will be.
Right. I think that I looked at results, but I shouldn't, because my results are wrong. I just picked people as fast as I could to get on the right page. Like, how could we have done? But we didn't. I'll be interested to see. I mean, if I feel like Miami taking Herbert, I don't know. I'm rooting for Tua, I guess. I like his interviews. I like Herbert's interviews. Like, if you've ever seen what little he has out there, he's kind of a cool guy.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I don't know. I think that it's just going to come down to safety. I think they would just rather be right than devastatingly wrong.
Well, rather be wrong the way everybody's wrong about quarterbacks instead of wrong in a very specific story way. Yeah, I just don't think. I don't know. I won't be surprised when neither. I won't be surprised when no one besides Burrow. And I guess I'll be surprised if either of the other two, Love or Herbert. They just seem like you always need to fill out there always need to be other quarterbacks to talk about. That's what they see.
Well, and I think that there could be some weirdness at the end of the first round where teams jump in for that fifth-year option and stuff like that. Like, I think San Diego gets in there for Jalen Hurts and he gets mentored by Tyrod Taylor for a year or two. Like, or maybe they bring in Cam Newton, but still, those are two guys I think you would want kind of showing him the ropes.
Sure. How do you feel? What do you feel like is one of the teams that will be mad at their team for what they do?
How do you mean?
Well, there's usually picks where, I mean, did we pick anything that we think makes sense that we know that the team like their fans would be unhappy with?
I mean, I think maybe Jerry Jeudy to the Jags. I think Jags fans might be a little thinking they might need something a little more substantial. I'm going through it right now.
About, passing on Henry Ruggs, that's going to piss some people off.
For whom? Like just all the teams?
I think
Denver, sure, yeah. I think that if a fan, like, and I will actually go so far as to accuse you, listener, that if you don't think your team needs a cornerback more than it needs that wide receiver, like that specific one, I think you're not paying attention to the other side of the ball. It's not all fantasy statistics.
Sure.
So how about that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just when anybody slides a little further than I feel like, even the both of us usually, you know, if we weren't trying to elaborate the picks, would have probably had Ruggs go somehow earlier to somebody.
Oh, for sure.
And so, yeah, whoever misses on that. As one last, like, how do you feel how the Vikings did in this situation?
I mean, to me, this is their best case scenario, is coming away with two defensive backs that they're happy with. Like, whether or not I'm happy with them, like, if they're happy, I think that's the best case scenario.
Sure. You wouldn't prefer if Cesar Ruiz fell? I feel like a lot.
I mean, for me, yeah. No. For me, at 22, if he's there, that's a no-brainer. But I like interior players who can kind of shuffle around. And I think that guy's going to end up playing guard, and that's probably the biggest need on offense for the Vikings. So I would want that if he was there. I just think Miami is going to try to link him up if they don't have to do work for it. So when he's there I guess we had him going to Atlanta. That Atlanta take is a new take for me. I keep forgetting I feel that way.
Yeah, I've always had them getting CJ because I didn't. But a lot of this is a little different than I have done before. Some of them.
That Chris Harris loss to the Chargers is massive for them, because it's not only losing either their first or second best corner, depending on your take on the player, but it goes within the division on a already pretty stomp D. Like,
yeah, the move to get Melvin Gordon makes me think that maybe they really want that offense to work. Like, they're not going to try to rely on the defense quite as much as they have. So that would be the only thing that I think they might want a part to just kind of change what they are. But yeah, makes sense to me. It seems like he's clearly the second best corner. So he'll probably go higher than I ever want to mock him, because he's the second best one.
When I could easily see, like, would you be that surprised if Jacksonville's draft ended with him at 9 and what's his name, the Gross Matos at 20? Like, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
I wouldn't be crazy surprised, and there were also, like, we didn't pick Josh Jones. Like, they could still get an offensive tackle later.
Yeah. And I think they'll be content with that. I think they just know that they have to get immediate impact players out of these first round picks.
Yeah, they'll do their best. It's not going to save his job, but
nope. Yeah. So no running backs in the first round. So who do you think is going to have the best first round fantasy implications? Like, who has the best?
Sure. So where did we end up? I feel like Ruggs is probably it.
When Ruggs goes to Philly? Yeah, that's probably fair.
Fling it down the field.
Yeah.
It's a really good marriage. I think it's either, I guess, any of the top three. They all went to places where they'll get used a lot.
If Brandon Ayuk found his way into San Francisco, I'd put him higher on that list too, but Probably not ahead of
San
Ruggs.
Francisco will ever run. They're not going to run in some way where they have 2,000-yard receivers. So I think Debo, he'll be an effective player, but from a fantasy standpoint, I don't think he. I mean, he'll have a big impact on games, but I don't think he could beat out. I don't think Judy could do it because they'll break it up a little too much in Jacksonville. So I would say it's between CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs, and that I like Ruggs' situation even better than CeeDee Lamb's because Carson Wentz is better. Philly is not shy about flinging it around. They divided up a lot too, but we didn't give ourselves a lot of options for most impressive fantasy player. Maybe Joe Burrow will be.
Well, I mean, it's always the story in fantasy is always the running backs, and it'll be all about where they land in the second round. I think the big three will all go in round 2.
Are the big three
Swift, Dobbins, and Taylor?
Who was the who?
Swift, Dobbins, and Taylor are the big 3 running backs.
Sure.
And I think it'll be all about who gets them. Like, it'll be all about the fit.
I'll be interested to see where Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes. But yeah.
I'll be very curious if there's any fruition that comes to that Leonard Fournette for the 32nd pick to the Chiefs. If that were to happen, holy Lord.
Yeah, that would be cool. I feel like the Steelers could try to get him somehow.
Yep.
Like, there's lots of places for Fournette to drop that I think it would be cool if Fournette was there. I don't know how they get him. Like, I don't have a scenario for the Steelers to get him that is specifically draft for him.
No, I don't either. I don't know. The money kind of matches if they let McCoy go. Like, then they only have to come up with $1 million of cap room to make that work on the dollar. And then you have we could slow it down running back. We can speed it up with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek and Mecole Hardman and all their other speedster wide receivers. Like, I think that would just give their offense everything.
Well, it's not like Fournette is not a home run hitter. Like he is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and has any receiving capabilities.
Receiving home run hitter. What was that?
I don't know. It popped up faster than I could see it.
Just a minute. Nothing.
No, nothing to do with anything we're doing.
Well, that was kind of neat. I think it would be just sort of fun. I mean, we could even see if those guys want to do it or whatever, but it would be sort of fun if we do like when we watch the draft tomorrow, if we have this is our closest, and whoever gets closest wins something.
Oh, yeah. We could totally do that. That'd be fun. Just record it and make as we watch the draft video.
We could do that too, yeah. I didn't even think of recording it. But just, yeah.
I mean, if they were cool with it, obviously I would ask them first, but...
Sure. Well, whoever wants to do it. If you guys want to...
Right. Well, I could always edit around it. Like, if Jared's like, I don't really want to do that. Like...
Oh, recording during while we're watching the draft?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sure.
Just let it run.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Especially because then it can go anywhere and you can forget you're being recorded. Which is where the best stuff comes from.
Oh, for sure.
So who's the running back that would be the coolest for Tampa today? Do you think they'll pick one? They're not just going to stick with Ronald Jones.
I think if Dobbins is there for them, and 2, that can be Tom Brady's new White. James White.
Oh, sure.
Like little scatty-backy.
Right.
But maybe a little bit of a better inside runner. Is Dobbins what? Yeah, that's his whole thing.
Oh, I thought he was like a speed. like a running or more, like not. I mean, okay.
No, I think you're like when we talked previously, like your Jamal Charles comp, I think is pretty accurate. Like he can run inside and catch passes and turn that corner on a sweep and just be gone. And when you got Mike Evans out there blocking for you, holy Lord.
Sure. Yeah, my picks in Dynasty are all like 5 and 6. Kind of sucks. Like, oh, right outside, but it's going to be really sweet.
Yeah. Nope, samesies, except for that Jeff League. I have the number 2 pick, which I don't really understand, but whatever. It's fine.
I think he just randomized it.
No, not for the one that's the Dynasty that's a second year.
Oh.
I have the number 2 overall pick. Nothing. I thought I was the worst team, and then I lost the ship bowl, so I thought that made me the number 1 or whatever. Like, the one who lost out the most. I thought, yeah, the number 1, but I'm number 2 to Brandon. So, I'll still get one of the good running backs.
One of them. But
to go with all of my other running backs in that league.
But there usually is, like, I mean, 1 versus 2 usually is a little... 1 versus 2 last year was, like, awful. Like, 1 was Josh Jacobs. 2 was... You can't use...
Miles Sanders.
Right, but I mean,
right.
Nothing you want to use during the year, basically. Maybe a couple times.
No, yeah. You got to wait for the back half of the year before he gets his chance.
Right. Versus permanent starter for most teams. Like, if they're
right.
as good as yours.
But
yeah. Well, right on. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. We should probably do some kind of like sign off real quick here, just so that we have it. So, all right. So that's wrapping up the mock draft, and maybe we'll do that video of us after the fact watching round 1.
That sounds like fun to me. I had a good time. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll try to get back to you guys soon and with a little more frequency than we did last year, and hopefully help you get to the championship we're destined to find in our respective leagues.
Indeed.
All right, take it easy, Speculation Nation.